Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you follow me on Instagram, which you should, you would have seen that I posted a couple of palettes that I recently purchased, and I wanted to go ahead and start filming some videos for you guys on the newer items that just released recently. So the first one I wanted to do is this palette right here. This is the Dragon Child palette from Makeup Monsters. This is the little outer sleeve right here. This is what it looks like. It has this gorgeous holographic shift to it. Beautiful scales all over it, and it just says Dragon Child and Makeup Monsters Cosmetics. So Makeup Monsters is an indie brand that I've actually been purchasing from for a pretty long time. I own a lot of their liquid lipsticks. That's pretty much all they had for a while there. Now they also have highlighters and they have hair dye, and this is their first palette. So I actually missed the first pre-order of this palette, so that's why it took me a little bit longer to get it. I got it on the second pre-order, but now it looks like it's just fully in stock. I just checked and it is in stock right now, so you can buy it if you want to. So let me give you a couple of details about it. So it retails for $42. So here is a close-up of the front of the palette. So you see Dragon Child, and then this is the inside. These are the shades, very, very vibrant. They're all matte with the exception of these two shades right here, which are like a shimmery metallic. So I can't wait to try it out. You don't get a mirror with this palette, so that's a little disappointing, but I mean, I'm usually doing my makeup here at home in front of a mirror, so I'm not completely heartbroken by that. So they do have this beautiful piece of artwork on top that was custom made for them, and then it has this quote up on top from George R.R. Martin from his A Dance with Dragons book. This is definitely very on brand for them. Pretty much all of their packaging has this girl, this green monster girl. It's all very like sexy, spooky, cute kind of vibe to it. So I definitely like that they kind of stuck with that little aspect. I really want to film two looks with this palette because there's just so many different colors. Not all of them necessarily that you can combine together, and I really want to show the full impact of this palette. So I think I might do two looks, but what I might do is just film one look right now and then film the other look tomorrow maybe, because you guys, as I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, I keep having issues with this right eye. Whenever I do a look, try to take it off and immediately film again. I don't know, I'll take my makeup off, take a break, and see what happens. But if you see me in a different outfit in the second look, then now you know why. So I did want to give you a couple other little details about this palette before we get into the swatches. As I mentioned, Makeup Monsters is an indie brand, so you'd be supporting a smaller indie brand here. They are cruelty free, and this palette is 100% vegan and talc free. So if that is something that you look for in a palette, then this would be perfect for you. So let me go ahead and get some swatches going, and then we can get into the eyeshadow looks. All right, so now for the swatches. So we have Lucky, Myth or Legend, Dragon Child, Sleeping Dragon, Stone Drake, Firefly, Flame Tongue, Dragon Rider, Smoke Mount, Cave Dweller, Worm, and Mother Dragon. So these two are your two shimmer shades. I really love both of these shades. This one is absolutely gorgeous, and I bet it would be really pretty as a highlighter. And then this one is such a pretty gold. It has this really unique kind of touch of green to it. I don't know if you guys can see that. Super beautiful. And these mattes are so pigmented, so I'm curious to see how they work with a brush. So let's find out. All right guys, so for the first look, I'm starting out with the shade Dragon Rider. I've already primed my lids, but I did not set it with a translucent setting powder. I figured this would work nicely for these bright, bold colors to help them grab on. So I'm kind of starting small, patting the color in and then blending it out, and that seemed to work really nicely. Next up is the shade Dragon Child. I'm working with a fluffier brush now, and I'm putting this more on the upper brow bone area, just kind of blending that blue shade out a bit. Now I'm taking a tiny fluffy brush, and I'm going back into both of those shades, Dragon Child and Dragon Rider. First, I'm starting out with Dragon Rider, and I'm just focusing on bringing it down further into the inner corner, darkening up the outer corner and the actual socket portion of the crease. And then with the Dragon Child, the lighter shade, I'm just kind of blending back over and adding a little bit more intensity of that color. Next up is the shade Myth or Legend. I'm using this on a flat fluffy brush, and I'm using patting motions to pack it onto the inner and outer portion of the lid to do the halo eye, and then running it a little bit through the crease as well. Next up is some concealer. I'm using my Tarte Shape Tape to add the halo portion in the center and kind of blend it out into the crease. And then with a wet flat brush, I'm going into the shade Lucky, and I'm packing that over the top. Then I switched to a more detailed brush so that I could really get into that top portion. Now with that tiny fluffy brush again, I'm going back into Myth or Legend, and I'm just kind of blurring over the edges of where that pink shade was. Now with a flat brush, I'm going back into Myth or Legend, and I'm using this to line the lower lash line. I'm kind of patting it on at first to minimize fallout and then kind of blurring it out. And then with that same brush into the shade Dragon Child, I'm just running this underneath the blue color just to make it match the top and really smoke it out a good bit. Now I'm using a dry, detailed brush to go into the shade Firefly and just add a little bit to the inner corner, and then I'm going over the top of that with Lucky because I really didn't want it to be too yellow. The two together kind of tone each other down. Now just putting a blue pencil in my waterline. This is from Makeup Forever. Now just adding some liner, mascara, and lashes, and voila, those are the eyes. So I wanted to go ahead and use Lucky as a highlighter, so I'm just dipping my highlighting brush in there and just putting it on the cheeks, and this is such a gorgeous shade as a highlighter. It gives it a beautiful pink iridescent glow with just enough shimmer. It's just beautiful. And this is the finished first look. And now for look 2, which I did end up filming the next day. I'm starting out with a flat brush into the shade Smoke 'em Out, and I'm basically going to do a really thick line across the lash line. This is going to be a layered look, and then I'm going to blend the colors together. So I'm just starting out getting really close to the lash line and then making the line a bit thicker. Next up is the shade Cave Dweller, and this line is just going to go right above the gray, and I'm going to take this about halfway up the lid. You don't have to be super precise, mostly you just want to be careful around the inner and outer corners. And I did leave the primer tacky again, so right now I'm just working on laying that pigment down. Next up is the shade Worm. Now this color is going to go above the blue and it's going to go right up to the crease, and I'm just going to kind of follow that crease line. Then with a fluffy brush, I'm going into Stone Drake, and this is going to actually start blending out that crease area. I kind of just keep looking at the other eye to make sure I'm going up as high to match the other eye. But yeah, this is just blending. And then I'm blending the outer corner as well. Now it's time to blend all those colors together. I'm using a flat fluffy brush into those same 3 shades, and I'm going to work from the top down. So I'm starting with Worm, and I'm really kind of blurring that out on the top. Then I'm going into Cave Dweller, the blue shade, making sure that it really matches the other eye as far as how high up the blue goes. And then I'm going to blend more of that Smoke 'em Out gray shade along the bottom. You just kind of work back and forth until you feel like the colors are nicely blended together. Now I'm going into the shade Flamethrower with that same flat brush from earlier, and I'm going to just stamp this along the lower lash line, and then once I've got that pigment down, I'm going to kind of run the brush back and forth to really blur it out. Then with a pencil brush, I'm going into Mother Dragon, and I'm running this underneath the red shade. Now I'm just using this Beauty Bakery gel liner. This is just in the black shade. I'm just going to do a thin line across the top and then a small wing. You could do liner or you could just do glitter glue, but I felt like this gave me kind of a guideline for where to put the yellow shade down. So now with a tiny brush, I'm going into the shade Firefly. This is a wet brush, and I'm just packing that yellow shade on top of the liner, just making sure I get the pigment to really cover all of that black. Again, you could use a glitter glue over the liner if you wanted to, but it stayed really nicely doing this method. And now I'm going into the shade Lucky, and I'm going to add this to the inner corner, and then I'm going to go back into the shade Firefly, and I'm just very, very lightly going over the top of this. Again, I didn't want a really intensely yellow inner corner highlight. Now I'm adding a red pencil into the waterline. This was from the Face Shop and Marvel collection. And again, just adding mascara and lashes to complete the look. And this is the finished second look. Alright, so here is my second look. If you're wondering what's on my lips for this look, it's a combination of Hunty from Jeffree Star and Contessa lip gloss from ColourPop. And then the first look, I was just wearing the Fenty Gloss Bomb. Pretty much anytime you see me in a nude gloss, it's almost always this. So final thoughts on this palette. I am absolutely blown away by the intense pigmentation that it had and the fact that it was super easy to work with and super easy to blend. You know, sometimes you have these really, really colorful palettes that look like this in the pan and then they come out really sheer when you try to use them with a brush. That was not the case here. So I'm definitely very impressed, and I can't wait to get more shadows from Makeup Monster. Which, if you follow them on Instagram, they posted a sneak peek today of just like this same kind of palette setup, but it was empty. And the shadow names looked like maybe it was going to be a werewolf themed palette or something along those lines. I think one of the shadow names was Wolfsbane, so that's why I figured maybe werewolf. So overall, I ended up using every single shadow in this palette with the exception of this green one, Sleeping Dragon, just because I ran out of places to put color. But every single one of them was super easy to blend. You do get a lot of powder kick up with these shadows when you're using them. So I'll just show you just like one of them, like just very lightly. I mean, I wasn't digging in that hard there, but it's not a big deal. Just tap your brush off. I don't mind it at all. It didn't end up resulting in a lot of fallout. I ended up not really having any fallout at all. The only time I noticed fallout was with this kind of glittery shade when I was doing the liner, probably because I had a lot on my brush. And then I think I got a little bit from when I was running this underneath my lash line. And I really think it's because I dipped the brush in there and then I was kind of like rubbing it back and forth. Whereas with the other shades, I was doing a lot of patting motions. And honestly, with really intense pigments like this, that's probably your safest bet, is to pat the color on and then blend it out. That way you get the most impact out of that color and you minimize your fallout. So I definitely recommend this palette 100%, especially if you are a lover of color. These shadows are absolutely beautiful, so pigmented, and these two shimmer shades are just gorgeous. This as a highlighter was amazing. And then like I said, this one has just got this lovely, unique kind of shift to it. So definitely recommend it. Hope you guys enjoyed both of these looks. I really wanted to just show you every single color I possibly could, and I think I pretty much succeeded there. So if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and thank you for watching. Bye guys.